It says go, so hopefully it is working. I'm neither sure, so I have my tablet here, and hopefully it will work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. Hi everyone, this is Abel. Welcome back to my channel. This is Pens and Portals, which is a fancy name that I gave to this show, which is just an excuse for me to hang out with cool people and writers and other bookish personalities. And today I'm really happy because finally I managed to have a live stream and a discussion with Mark A. Latham, author of The Last Vigilant, which is one of my favorite books of this year. Thank you, Mark, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's very kind of you to say so about the book.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you here, and all of my praises. And spoiler alert, I'm going to gush about this book for the entire duration of this interview. They're all worth it. This is a gem of a book. This is unexpected in the best way possible. It surprised me a bunch of times. It was a cover buy. I'll show you the cover if you know nothing about this. And this is an epic fantasy book. And Mark will ask you that dreadful question. Give us an elevator pitch about the book after I finish gushing about this beautiful cover design here. And I'm so jealous because I wasn't able to buy that fancy broken binding edition. Do you have it near? Do
I
you
have
want
it
to
right here.
show it?
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
considerably larger.
it's a beauty.
With the
It's a
straight
work of art.
edges.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, what I really love about
absolutely.
this, actually, I'll show you, make you even more jealous. This
Oh,
amazing
come on.
gold foil debossed
Twisting the knife.
leatherette
Yeah, yeah.
cover. Oh.
It looks amazing, right? It has this, 90s, early 90s, late 80s vibes with the two main protagonists and the darkness and the colors and the moon and the crow. Wow. But even the typography, the fonts, and the color here, and the contrast with the modern Mark A. Latham here, and what you have on the back. Oh, man, okay, just to say that I bought the book because it looked pretty, and I hoped it was going to be a nice read, a compelling story, and I wasn't disappointed. It looks amazing. So let me say hello to someone, the first guest here. Hi from Croatia. Thank you for being here, my friend. Okay, so Mark, let's talk about a little bit about you as a reader and then as a writer, and then we'll delve a little bit more inside the elevator pitch and the
Cool. Yeah.
contents of the story. I have a bunch of really interesting questions for you. Oh, there is another one. First time listening from the USA. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Mark, the stage is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself as a reader, as an author.
Oh,
Go
where
on,
shall I begin? Where shall I begin?
whatever you want. We have an hour here and maybe a little bit more. So,
Okay. Oh gosh, I've always been a voracious reader from my teens. It might surprise, I don't know, will it surprise you to learn that my favourite genre is horror?
oh
Um,
wow,
every single thing I've ever written has at least one horror scene in it, including The Last Vigilant, because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of obsessed. So I grew up with Stephen King and Dean R. Koontz and all that kind of stuff. And even now, my favourite writers are people like Adam Neville, Christopher Buhlman, Grady Hendrix. I just love that stuff. It's so great. So yeah, I love horror books and horror movies. Kind of
Yeah.
what I do when I'm not writing fantasy. But I've always been interested in fantasy and involved in it professionally as well as personally. So I was a big gamer when I was a kid. Role-playing games, tabletop war games, you name it, video games, very early video games. Because I'm quite old.
We are differently young, okay?
Differently young. Age challenged. And so when I was a teenager, I really wanted to go to work for Games Workshop, the Warhammer people.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be the White Dwarf editor. And so I turned my entire will towards making that happen. And it did.
You're dead set on that goal, right?
So I became a writer, first of all, for a Lord of the Rings magazine, with the Italian company, D'Agostini.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Making the artworks for Lord of the Rings.
Stars Alliance, is it?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
And then I became the editor of that magazine. And then I went over to work on White Dwarf magazine as a deputy editor, and I finally became the editor. And that was like life goal achieved.
Wow.
And I think it was achieving that goal that made me think, well, what was my first passion? What do I do next, actually? What's the next big thing for me? And I just really wanted to stop working in somebody else's world and start making my own. However that might be, I was kind of thinking, maybe I should get into comics, or perhaps I should go and publish some role-playing games, or perhaps I should just write that novel I've always wanted to write. And that's what I did. So I started writing in my spare time. I wrote a book called The Lazarus Gate, which was my debut novel. It took me years to finish it. And, I didn't have a lot of spare time. I was a magazine editor. Deadline, pretty frantic. And I wrote that book, and they secured me an agent. And he sold the book to Titan here in the UK. And when he did that, I left my job. And I thought, I'm going to go it alone. And I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. It's a terrifying
It's a crazy leap of faith, right?
It's a big leap of faith. I basically, my day job is a 50-50 split between writing for games, video games, board games, role-playing games, you name it, and writing novels. And I kind of thought that, well, I've got enough contacts in the gaming industry to make a start on it and become a freelancer. So I did that to kind of pay the bills while I was slaving away on novels. But now it's flipped. Now I actually signed with Orbit, so I can actually make novel writing my main job, and the games writing is my secondary job. It's the first time in 13 years I've been able to do that. So I'm very happy this year.
That is amazing. And I think it is worth it, and you deserve that kind of recognition because the novel is amazing. It will be one of the many, many times I say something like that. So let's say that this is the actual situation, right? Let's say 80% novel writer, 20% in the other fields of your video games and all the rest. That's nice. So do you want to give us a short pitch about the book? So for first-time listeners, for anyone from my audience that didn't have the chance to read the book, maybe they were gooning about the beautiful cover, but they don't know exactly what's inside. Just give us a little bit of that.
Shall I give you my very funny elevator pitch that I gave to my agent?
Let's go.
Which is, it's Miss Marple and Richard Sharp from the Bernard Cornwell novels. Solve mysteries in Westeros.
Oh wow! I can see why that agent was interested in this, because that's really, really intriguing, and it is spot on.
It's pretty close, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, because the elevator pitch is dreadful, right? To try and summarize the gist of the story and the vibe and the potential. In the grand scheme of things, it's really difficult.
I think you always try to use comps when you're pitching to an agent or an editor because they understand. Oh, I've seen that movie, or I've read that book. Well, that's a really famous character. So
it's a natural connection. Right there. So just to go a little bit more, to expand on that, we have just a little bit about the two main characters, so that people know who they're dealing with and spending their time with when reading the book.
You'll spend most of your time with Holt Hawley, who is a sergeant in one of the elite high companies in this kind of medieval analogous world. He is unusual in that he is a commoner who's been inducted into an elite noble company. And as a result, basically, this world isn't very progressive. So the people who are already in the company treat him like an outsider and a pariah. They really dislike him. They'd rather he was dead. And it doesn't help that a lot of misfortune has plagued him during his career. Some of it his own doing, some of it just purely by mistake. But he tries to do his best in this world that isn't very forgiving. He's your main guy. He's very down to earth. Try and imagine if you're familiar with a sturdy Yorkshireman from England. He's not he's not very well read. He's a big bruiser guy. He's got a massive sword, and he knows how to
it's
use
really
it.
brushed too. It's a man that acts and try to solve his problems in a very direct way.
He's very much a product of his world, and so there's this a crime that's been committed, which is a nobleman's son, a noblewoman's son, sorry, has gone missing, and this child is really important because they're essentially a political hostage from another realm, and if they don't find this child, there's going to be a war, and they can't find the child. They've tried everything, and so they need to go. They need to be seen that they're doing something.
Okay.
So they decide the best thing to do is we're going to find a vigilant, a true vigilant, and these are a mystical, almost mystical order of detectives, investigators. You might call them witch hunters or inquisitors.
Okay.
And they haven't been around for at least 60 years. Their order was dissolved and made illegal. They were all outcast or killed. But there's been a rumor that there's one left in the woods to the north. And so they think, it's a wild goose chase. They can't possibly exist. Who could we send? Let's send Hawley, but nobody wants him around.
The last loser of
exactly.
the roost.
So they send him to the north, hoping he never comes back. But as you might imagine, this isn't much of a spoiler. He does find the Last Vigilant.
Yeah, exactly. It's on the back of the book, so
it's on the back of the book. Yeah. And that's an Elder Drake, who is she's our Miss Marple character. Imagine a really grumpy Miss Marple.
Yeah, really grumpy.
Really grumpy.
I mean, know it all.
No, she knows everything. She doesn't care who knows it. She's got zero manners anymore because she's got to that age where she has no time for nonsense.
Exactly.
She will just tell you exactly what she thinks. And the basic concept of these two characters working together was that because she's quite brusque and abrasive and quite rude, she will just tell people what she thinks, get herself into all kinds of trouble, and then it's like, Paulie,
he has to solve it.
And then he's always kind of, oh no, and then he has to get beaten up.
Because even if he's a product of his time, but he's quite gentle if compared to her. He has manners, even if he's a commoner, and if he comes from a really bad situation, we want to spoil the book, but his mission there to try and find an elder covers up other things, deeper things. But he's quite a good person. He doesn't like to be in a position when he is, and even with person that mistreat him, he usually tries to be good with that. So there's this dichotomy between them.
Hawley has been raised in a very cruel world, and lots of bad things have happened to him, but he's somehow maintained a good nature. But he has done terrible things, and he's constantly trying to convince himself that he is a cold-blooded killer. He is this. He's merciless. He can do anything. But I think the reason he is more tentative than an elder is that he's lived in the world where there are consequences. There are very real consequences for offending nobility. Like he could get head chopped off at any moment. Whereas an elder's just like, I'm a vigilant, I can do anything.
Exactly. And one of the things that I loved about the book and the characters, of course, is the fact that the more you read about them, the more layers you peel, and there are a bunch of chapters. There are flashbacks, we could call them that way, about Hawley, when he remembers a pivotal moment about what he did, what he saw, and that brought all of the bad things that he's living and the actual situation. And when you read them, they make sense. They make you understand why he behaves in the way he behaves. But the more the story goes, the more he changes. There are moments when you see like he's going back, like he was evolving, and then he goes back because he has to face a few things. but then he has
Yeah.
to resolve others. They're really layered and complex characters. Even Enalda, who's much more secretive. We
Yeah.
get to see a little bit more about her past, but not that much. If compared with Holly, she's much more mysterious. She has such a much more ancient history, a longer story, if compared to him. And you did an amazing job characterizing
Thank you.
these
Yeah.
people. They look and feel like real people.
I think
They're,
Hawley. I think there's a lot of personal weight went into making Hawley the way he is, and it's that kind of he's kind of emotionally stunted
uh-huh,
because he's learned over the years, to lash out and to be angry, and he doesn't really know how to process these complicated emotions he's feeling now because he's never had it
uh-huh,
before. So he kind of takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and
yeah,
then sometimes sometimes you need him to be the big tough guy, and he has to do it, and he kind of gets himself into the place, and then he finds it hard to get back to that good place where he was a moment ago.
exactly.
He is
I think
complex.
it was a really accomplished work there. And it's not that common because I've been reading epic fantasy, high fantasy for 30 years. I've read a bunch of books. And even the most accomplished of those, they sometimes struggle to give the characters that kind of depth. It is a, I think, one of the most difficult things to achieve in any kind of character stories. This is not
Yeah,
exactly a character-driven story. There is a lot of plot here and a lot of things going on and moving pieces, but the characterization is done in a very excellent way. And I think if you're a plot reader or if you're a character reader, you'll be happy. You'll find everything that you could possibly need here. But we also have to deal about a little bit about the structure because this is not the
yeah,
usual epic fantasy story. Even if the cover is pretty classic, but the contents are a little bit different. We'll discuss it in a bit. I have a bunch of questions, okay, that I wanted to ask you. That I think that our audience will enjoy to listen to your answers about this. And the first one is that about the blend of dark fantasy, epic world building, and the mystery structure. This is the first thing that gives you an hint that this story is not quite the usual farmer boy who becomes a hero story. It's about something else. It's about an investigation. So, for you, what was the greatest challenge in combining, infusing the structure of a mystery, that it's evidence based, and with the scope, the vast scope, and the lore of a dark epic fantasy? How did you do it?
yeah. Oh, there's so much there, so much to unpick. I think that it's quite a low fantasy world, and that was very deliberate. Because if you're writing a mystery, you need some grounding in reality so that
Yeah.
people can kind of say, okay, I can follow the clues, I can follow the trail of clues.
Mhm, mhm.
Then the big challenge for me was to take the real fantastical elements, the kind of demons and angels, that kind of mythology, make it part of the solution, but not the whole solution,
Mhm, mhm.
because you've got to integrate the magic of the world into the main plot line, right? You can't just
Yeah.
have them completely separate.
Mhm,
Which originally I think that might have been where my planning was taking me. These two things are separate and not intertwined, but
mhm.
they had to become intertwined. And Enelda is the bridge between the two because she's seen both
Yeah.
worlds, the real world
Mhm.
and the mystical world.
Yeah.
Um, I think structure-wise, I tried not to get distracted by fantasy structure.
Mhm.
In fact, I have this rule that when I'm in the process of writing, I don't read within that genre
Okay.
because I can't be distracted. I read other stuff instead. So I
Uh-huh.
was still reading horror and a few mysteries and things like that
Yeah,
while I
yeah.
was writing Last
That's
Vigilant.
wise. Uh-huh.
So the structure I think is more related to like an Agatha Christie novel,
Mhm,
maybe a Sherlock Holmes novel, uh,
mhm,
than it is an epic fantasy novel.
mhm.
But then trying to find those ways of getting the world building in there. So what I actually did was I made sure it was a closed section of the world.
Okay.
I wasn't basically having this traveling all across the world and solving a world-shattering mystery. I was having them in a very small, localized
Self-contained.
environment, but with important factions coming into that environment. So I could kind of peel back some layers and show people bits of the wider world whilst keeping them very focused on what's happening in the here and now. I hope I'm successful.
It worked. I think I got there and I saw the way you were trying to merge the two things. You actually succeeded. One of the most interesting things is actually to try and understand the train of thoughts, all the inner workings of this kind of thing. I think that the mystery is quite relatable in a way. If you have seen any kind of procedural TV show or any kind of mystery novel, you understand that Mark is giving you enough element to get to the conclusion and to kind of solve the mystery while you read the book. And when you get to the conclusion, if you have been paying attention, you can understand what the ending is, even if he tried to pull the rug out of your feet a couple of times. But
my biggest fear was that the solution to the mystery might just be wizards did it. And I always feel cheated when that happens. There's got to be a bit of that in a fantasy story, but it can't be the whole answer. It can't just be magic.
But at the same time, you had a couple of times this doubt, the fact that Enelda can do and can see and knows so much. You always ask yourself if the solution is deeper connected there, and if it's too big and too complicated to be easily explained, because she will tell you many times, you simply don't know enough. You simply don't get it. Okay, because Holly is kind of a mirror to the reader because he knows so much less compared to her. So we're in his shoes so much more than we are in her shoes, because she likes to conceal the truth to Holly and to the readers. And we have a comment here about that says this: yes, you can't have the wizard cast the grand deviation spell and get the spirit to solve the mystery for you. Exactly. It will be like cheating, right? It wouldn't be a compelling mystery there. It will be maybe an interesting epic fantasy story, but not exactly what we have here. Another question for you. So I think that the novel has this ticking clock mechanism. So you're pushed through the investigation because it is pretty evident since the beginning that the more time you spend investigating, the less of a chance you have to find the boy alive. Okay, so it's pretty. There's a lot of anxiety there. Okay, how did you balance the need to keep the pacing tight and urgent, and to balance with the fact that mysteries are usually a slow burn, and there's a lot of elements clicking together and a lot of conversation and a lot of analyzing and collecting evidence? So how did you manage to do that, to make that and balance them with the action scene, because there's a lot of actions too in this novel?
I think I kind of use the action scenes as a catharsis. So you spent a lot of time doing the detective structure where Enelda is almost interviewing the suspects and trying to put all the pieces together. And then you just kind of then have to remind you occasionally, this is a fantasy novel. Somebody's going to draw a sword in a minute. It wasn't ever pleasant threat that something might kick off. That's what Hawley's short fuse is there for, which I love very much. He's my Chekhov's gun. But yeah, it is tricky. I think the pacing was the thing that I had. It was almost a struggle. I think I had quite a few drafts of this novel. And then when I finally got it down to what I thought was a pretty tightly paced novel, I sent it off to Orbit for the first time. And they said, can you add another 20,000 words? Because we want to make it bigger and more epic.
How many words was the first one and the draft that you sent and the final one?
So it's really funny. I wrote a 157,000 word book.
Okay.
I edited it down to 140,000 words.
Okay.
and Orbit requested around about 20,000 more.
Okay.
So I put most of my first draft back in.
Okay.
Edit it all together.
Never mind. Okay. So 170K. Yeah.
It's just over 160 in the end, I think, with final edits. So yeah.
And my version, which is the UK paperback, is around 510 pages. Maybe.
The US version is the same. What they did is shrink the pages, so there's no typesetting. It's just literally just shrink it, so you have a smaller font.
Yeah. So action scenes were the catharsis and like the payoff to all the build up and the emotional turmoils.
And of course, the slow pace. The slow paced parts don't stop the clock because they're still happening in 1 or 2 days. It's not like they're spending weeks trawling through clues. They're kind of like, okay, we've got 1 day to talk to this guy and then get to the library and find some clues. Otherwise, we're gonna, So yeah, I try to keep it moving and just try to remind people that there is an ever-present threat.
I think that a big accomplishment that you managed to do is that there's quite a lot of thinking and talking with other people, but it never gets boring. It never feels like filler content just because in between action scenes and payoff we have to flesh out the characters. There's always interesting questions there. There's always something to discover about the world building, about the characters, about the lore, which is amazing. And I want to know more about that, about the past. As you said, Enelda is part of an ancient order that had a specific influence in the past, and it doesn't have anymore. And they have to deal with the actual Vigilant, which are quite different from, and they act in a different way if compared to the Vigilant that she's part with. And she has this people not believing she's actually Vigilant and then believing because of the way she speaks and then the things she does.
I was thinking, I hope that's not confusing to the reader that we have 2 sets of Vigilants.
Yeah, exactly.
She is the real Vigilant, and then you guys who call themselves Vigilants are actually just sheriffs, like they're like the sheriff of Nottingham kind of.
And there's an interesting dynamics there because when she sees them, the actual Vigilant, and when they deal for the first time with an actual Vigilant, the sparks flying there because there is a whole political things on a sociological level too. It is very well structured and delivered.
When she meets her first new Vigilant, that's my favourite scene. I think one of my favourite scenes when she meets it and she casts aside her disguise and she starts to knock things off a table like Jesus in the temple. I love it.
Yeah, because she has this contempt for the way the world is changed.
Yeah.
And we see a little bit of why she was cast aside. And at the same time, Holly has doubts about her and the way she was trained to become a Vigilant. There's a whole deal there that you have to read for yourself because it is really interesting. And about Holly, for the first chunk of the book, quite a bit of the book, we follow him, just him, right? And you introduce Holly, and then before giving us access to Enelda's Drake point of view, it takes a little bit of time. Why did you decide to split and to give this amount of space to Holly and then to give it a little bit? I think that in the book we have a little bit less of her point of view if compared to Holly. He has a little bit more space. What was your reasoning behind this decision in allotting this kind of space to them?
Yeah, so although the structure of the book is based more on kind of Miss Marple, Agatha Christie, maybe Poirot, a little bit of that kind of structure, the characterization is a bit more like Sherlock Holmes, in that although she never tells you her theory right at the start, because she won't give you a theory unless she's got evidence to back it up, just like Sherlock Holmes. But she knows all along. Right? So she knows or she suspects what's happened just by looking at you. She knows if you're guilty just by looking at you, because the way you twitch your eye, she just knows.
Exactly.
Just like Sherlock Holmes. So in the Sherlock Holmes novel, basically, he knows from chapter 1 who did it and why. and then the entire book is just him letting Watson catch up. Because if you spent time in his head, you'd know as well, because he'd have to say,
Exactly.
well,
It wouldn't be that much interesting, right?
yeah,
Absolutely. And sometimes she is unreliable as a narrator because
yes,
she knows a bunch of things, but she knows how to dance around the truth that she's certain of, because she knows that telling in a plain way, I know this happened, and this one, and this person did that, and this other person is lying, and this other one will be counterproductive for the development of the investigation.
yeah.
So don't trust her, okay? By
Don't trust
reading
her,
her,
no,
don't trust Anelda. She's the smarter one, but at the
because
same time,
she doesn't trust anyone.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
so I think one thing I should have said earlier actually is that she has lived alone for at least 40 years since her master died, and she's lived in a crumbling tower in the woods for all that time. And what she's done in that time is fill her mind with details. She can conjure a mental picture of that tower, with every splinter of wood in the door frame, every fibre on the rug, every bit of dust that's spilled from the fireplace, and she can recreate it vividly in her mind, because she has to fill her mind to keep the demons out.
Exactly.
And we're talking about literal demons here,
She
because
cannot
demons are
lower
drawn
her
to her
guard.
because she's so brilliant. So if she lets her guard down for a second, they'll be drawn to her, and they might come through into our world. So she doesn't trust normal people because they don't have her training. The demons could just come through them at any time. So if she lets slip the truth, they might let slip to the demons.
Exactly. And there is an interesting concept there about the influence that these entities have on the entire world.
Yeah.
The world is in this situation because of that kind of influence. And normal people, they don't realize how easy it is to lend themselves to that kind of influence. And that's why she's so shielded.
Yeah, there's
That
very much
was a
idea of
nice touch, I have to say.
that slow corruption that
Yeah.
demons and angels can just toy with people, and they don't even realize it. They just
And
gradually
angels
influence.
too. They're not
Angels too,
exactly
yeah.
those pinky creatures that we can imagine. Their influence can be pretty dangerous to normal people too. I don't want to say more because I don't want people with
I
that.
know it's a big
Read it
spoiler.
for yourself, because it's beautiful the way you use those classical elements that are pretty familiar to our society and epic fantasy too, but they're used in a way that it is, I think it's pretty unique. I don't pretend I've been reading all the fantasy books that are available all around the world, but I think this was pretty original and
But when I was
developed in a really compelling way.
when I was working with theology and the different factions in the book, especially the monks, I was kind of going about their how they view the world. I was mainly thinking about like the Name of the Rose, so Umberto Eco. It was that kind of stuff that was inspiring me rather than fantasy novels. I was trying to make it sort of grounded in this sort of monastic, ecclesiastical mythos almost.
It makes it look like an historical novel more than an epic fantasy story, even if the lore is so deep. And the way vigilants work, and the saints too, because there's all of the deal there with this woman, the relationship she had with the Majestics and her influence around the world. There's a lot of stuff that you have to read for yourself, because they influences the culture of the world and the relationship between the kingdoms and the words and all the rest. It's huge, but it is never feels overbearing. It's never too heavy to the point that you're feeling like you're studying actual history if you're not a history buff. It's always in the frame of a really engaging story. And Timothy says this sounds like the Dark Ages belief set, where the demons were responsible for the every ill on Earth. Very much. Absolutely.
I mean, the world's the setting basically. I was trying to make it fairly analogous to England in the medieval times. So around about 1100 maybe. That's the sort of tech level that they're at. And I kind of thought, could I rewrite this book so it's just England, France, and Germany? Um, actually, probably could.
Yeah, you could. And the other kingdom, they look French. And they very
Well,
much look like French. But
they
yeah.
kind of speak not French too. So if we ever get
Yeah.
a French translation, they're going to really struggle.
Poor French translator, we don't envy you a little bit. Always Timothy says, throwing out of your shoulder to bind invisible demons and all
They
that.
do
Yeah.
that. So one of the soldiers always spits into a fire when there's when he thinks there's bad stuff nearby. One of them always makes a sign of the saint's sword on his forehead to ward off evil. That's one of those little superstitious things.
Yeah. And there's influence of this monastic things in between the warriors and the knights too. There's a lot of things there. So another question. So about Enelda, right? She's pretty different if compared to Holly, of course. And sometimes it's like she's trying to slow him down and to try to make him understand that he has to think a little bit more about his decision. So when you were developing their dynamic between those two, is Enelda more of a mentor to Holly, or more as a counterpart, a mirror, and that pushes Holly to confront all his flaws on an emotional level? It was a tool for you to develop Holly. This reply can have a lot of levels, so say whatever you want.
Well, it's all of the above. They start off as strangers, antagonistic almost. Enelda can definitely rub people up the wrong way. So can Hawley, so they fight a little bit at the start. But she does see something in Hawley and tries to bring out of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it might be selfish on her part that she's trying to twist Hawley to her worldview, because she kind of knows the state of the world. She knows it's all corrupt. She just wants him to come out and say it. He daren't say it because he's scared of the repercussions. But mentoring has to be two-way. You have to want to be mentored before you can go down that. So she's kind of she starts by sort of, is he worthy to be, for me to teach him anything? Has he got the aptitude? And I think if ultimately she will learn that, yeah, he does have the aptitude, and he wants to be a better person. And as soon as she sees that in him, their relationship changes. There's like a key moment in the book where he learns something about himself, that he can put down the sword, that he can be a better man. And she thinks, now you're ready, I can teach you some stuff.
And at the same time, it's about trust for him. No, he has to decide if he wants to listen, or if he can trust what she said. He's fascinated by her, but also a little bit scared.
At the start, he's kind of scared of her just because of the way that they meet. But also, he thinks that she might be mad. It's like, is she just a mad old woman that I found in the forest? And when she gets found out, I'm going to be in such trouble.
Because he has an idea of how the mystery can be solved and who the culprit is. So they butt heads because he said he's the one, or she's the one, and she never says exactly he is not the one, because he said, wait, this is not the way. This is not the way she do it. So they have this really grading relationship, but at the same time, I think both of them are able to see a little bit more about more of the simple appearances. They understand that there's more.
The dynamic between those two characters is my favorite thing to write ever, I think. Every time I get a bit of writer's block, I always kind of go, what's the next scene I can think of when Hawley and Enelda can have an argument? And I just basically write that, and then suddenly I'm back in.
yeah. That's one of the sweetest part of the book, because there is a lot of really cutting sentences that are beautifully written. And if I let you see all the marks that I have here, these are pretty phrases, but not pretty because they, in a way, yes, it's just a compliment because they were beautifully written, okay? And that's certainly it. But at the same time, they're full of means. There's a lot of things that you can reread and kind of reflect on the meaning of stuff and about the way people try to find their places in the world, to try and find the right motivations to proceed in their life, and at the same time to deal
Yeah.
with their inner demons. Holly is a simpler man, but he's not stupid. He has this. He's a deep person. He dealt with a lot of really bad things, but since he's smart, he understands that there's a lot of things to pay and consequences because of his actions. It's not just about survival. I think had he get the chance to grow up in a different setting, he would have been a pretty intellectual person, even if he's just that brash and so violent as a person. Sometimes he wants to solve this problem with his word. There is a lot of things going on inside his mind that makes him such a compelling character for me. And if you end up when you end up reading the book, because I'm sure if you're watching this interview you'll end up buying the book, absolutely, you'll end up highlighting a lot of things. There's one of my favorite sentence is old memories give the lie to old feelings. Feelings open the door to the riftborn. And it's so nice. That's such a pretty sentence. And another question. I think we have time. Yes, just a couple more questions. About the Holly's past. So he has this personal disgrace that we will not disclose here. Uh, Bad things happen before the actual timeline of the book. Okay. Um, what's the mystery of the missing children and the need for two marginalized figures to solve it, intended to critique our world and the ruling powers? And does this suggest that justice must often come from those whom society has already deemed obsolete? This is quite a sociological question.
Yeah,
What do you think?
it's such a good observation that
Mhm,
you can only see the injustices of the world from outside the system,
mhm,
and they're both outsiders.
mhm.
Elder, literally an outsider. She's basically travelled abroad for half of her life and then lived in a tower in the woods for 40 years, not really spoken to anybody. So
Yeah.
she's a real outsider. But I think you can only really understand the system that you're in when you've been wronged by it,
Mm,
and
mhm,
they've both been wronged by the system. And
mhm,
Alda's got nothing now because a corrupt king took away her entire family, her entire order.
mhm,
Um, and Hawley's basically been scapegoated for every bad thing that's happened in his company for
mhm,
the last 5-10 years. Um, so yeah, it's very much that, and I'm very much throwing up a mirror to some of the corruption in the higher echelons of society.
mhm.
I think some of the parallels are probably quite obvious. I
Yeah,
hope I'm not
yeah,
being
yeah.
too heavy-handed.
Yeah, no. It was subtle. I didn't never had the feeling that you were trying to hand face your worldview
No, no, no.
on us as readers, and at the same time, it is quite relatable in the sense that sometimes we are so comfortable being cogs in this huge machine that it is our world.
Yeah,
Because of the politics and because of the customs of our nations, and even just the small cities we live in. And at the same time, by getting older, you learn to step back a little bit and to try to see things in a more rational and analytical things, and to try to decide the amount of effort you want to put in trying to deal with the rest of the world. Because I quite
yeah.
envy her for spending 40 years secluded in the tower. It looks like heaven to me, honestly. And for
Books piled to the
Holly, he was
ceiling.
for yeah, yeah, which has consequence. That image about the tower in when she steps in this other dimension, when she deals with entities about yeah, just a tidbit about what you're going to find in the book. And for Holly, he was forced to step away because he got to have a very rewarding position as a commoner if compared to many others, and then to be forced to step away from that because of all the things that happened and the bitterness that comes with that situation. I think that there's a lot of things to unpack, and a lot of thoughtful situation that you find yourself in by reading the book. That it is entertaining. It's a nice story. It's a mystery, but at the same time, there are moments when you're reading certain paragraphs that when you can stop and think about your position in your world and your life and all the things that you have to deal with. Yeah. Timothy is concurring and says, yes, studying in a tower, people are become stressful. Yeah. Yeah. During COVID, for some people, was actually kind of heavenly to stay close inside and working remotely. About the Majestic, just another question, and
Yeah.
then we'll try to wrap it up. Okay, I think we are giving people enough motivations to go and buy and read the book, and I need other people to discuss it because we want to gush about the book. We can do buddy reads if you want, reader, and if you're listening to this, I will reread it gladly because this was amazing. So there's this ancient history about this world that has this majestic, this creature, these angels. How did you ensure that this deep historical lore functions not just as a backstory, as a passive backstory, but as an active mechanism that, like hidden gears in an engine, that drives the present day story and the action of the antagonists and the protagonists too in the mystery.
Yeah, so an elder is that mechanism
Hmm.
because she kind of sees it happening. She's been trained her entire life to combat the Riftborn and to be wary of the Majestics, they like demons and angels, respectively. Um,
Hmm.
and I think what she does is she makes other people realize that just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean it's not there. So
Right.
yeah, everyone stopped believing in Majestics and Riftborn because it's just superstitions. It's all wives' tales. They don't really worship the gods properly anymore.
Hmm.
They've lost a bit of respect. They've rewritten their own history books. Um, and an elder comes along and she's like, "Guys, you've literally let the devil in because that's what the demons have been waiting for this whole time, waiting for you lot to turn to corruption and to stop being mean to each other and to stop studying and stop heeding the old lessons." And at first, Hawley thinks she's mad because of that. It can't be real, can it? That's just
Uh-huh.
witchcraft and crazy talk.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
until he sees it with his own eyes, you think, oh,
Because she doesn't care about explaining herself too, so
yeah.
people are
She
justified
just says
into
it.
she's just crazy.
She just says it like matter of fact, like, oh yeah, that's the demons.
Yeah. It was great, absolutely. I think that this novel puts you in a peculiar situation as a reader because you have assumptions about what kind of story you'll find. And even just by listening to us, you cannot quite grasp how different of a novel it is in a good way if compared to the usual comforting epic fantasy or dark fantasy story that you find. And at the same time, we cannot reduce it to a simple murder mystery or kidnapping or anything else because it has so much more going around in the periphery. And the more the story goes, the more the lore and world building and all the rest goes and influence the development of the story. So were you aware of how um, challenging this story was in conversation with the other epic fantasy, high fantasy, dark fantasy story? Did you have an idea of the final result, or it was something that was developing by reading the book?
Oof, I'm not sure. How was that?
There must have been a point when you realized, well, this is weird, but it is also unique in a certain way if compared to anything else on the market.
It took me the longest time to write this book. I've never spent so long writing a single book, actually.
Uh-huh.
And that was basically the entirety of the COVID years was spent with this book.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
um, and then yeah, trying to get it. So I got it to my agent who didn't like it,
Mhm.
um, and we actually parted ways over it, which is quite sad. Um,
Bye.
and
Bye.
I but I used the book to get a new agent
Okay.
who was amazing and sold it to Orbit. So it just goes to show that, it's such a subjective industry that we work in.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know how
absolutely.
we stay sane, but
Yeah,
but yeah. So that was a crazy time.
mhm,
And yeah, I had faith in the book.
mhm,
That's otherwise I wouldn't have pushed it so hard. I wouldn't have
mhm,
tried to start all over again, seek new
mhm.
representation, all that kind of stuff if I didn't have faith in the book.
Yeah.
It's a kind of book that I like to read. It's the kind of book that I wanted to put out there. It didn't change a huge amount from that early draft, to be
Mhm,
honest. I refined, but the core of the story stayed the same.
mhm.
I'm very glad that other people liked it too, because I wasn't sure they would.
Yeah, I think it's an accomplishment, and we don't want to spoil the ending, but just let's say that the scope of the story, it opens up when you get to the ending, and you have hints, and you have a new setup about what's going on, because the mystery is solved in the first book, but all the consequences, there's a lot of moving pieces, there's other facets, aspects of it that will be solved in the rest of the series, which is a planned trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And do you have any news about when the second book will be released? Do you not have a general timeline about
So
when we should expect book two?
it's with my editor now. I would hope it's out at roughly the same time of year, so summer, I think. So
Okay.
around about July, I'd hope. I'm not
Mhm.
entirely sure.
Mhm.
I'm a slave to the Orbit schedule.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the hardest lessons that every writer has to learn, to wait the rhythms of the traditionally published book that had there's a lot of
Yeah,
things moving there, a lot
it's
of
tough.
waiting.
I was quite late with book two, to be honest, handing it over. I think they're going to pull it back with the publishing time, so that's fine. So
Mhm.
I think the published book will be out on time.
Okay.
Um, book three, however, is a different story because I haven't started that yet.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
I
straight after
bet, I
Christmas,
bet.
I'll start
I will
that.
gladly wait, because this was.
Yeah.
I think that I don't have particular problems in remembering the plot of a book, even if I have been reading in between books for it took me 1 year or more. But there are particular novels that are so dense, they're so layered, that makes it a challenge. I think this is quite in a sweet spot when it is easier now to remember the general plot and the characters, but there's also a lot of refreshing to do. So if it comes up after 1 year, it will be easier. I won't need to reread book one, but we will wait. And if it takes you more time, more than 1 year to get to the third book, we'll accept that. What we have to do,
Well, I'll
hopefully,
do my best anyway.
do your best to give it 1 years apart in each iteration of this story. So, just one last question for
Sure.
you. It's a personal one. What is the hardest lesson that you had to learn by publishing this novel, and in general with being a professional, a writer that lives by selling books? And what's the thoughtest, hardest things to learn in this whole ordeal for you?
Oh
What do you
wow.
think?
Okay. Well, actually, I think it's just there's a bit of a grit and determination lesson here because I think my last published novel before this was I think it was 2018.
Okay.
So you imagine it's 2018, and then we had COVID, and then I separated from my agent, and then I basically started querying agents again, like I'd gone back in time 10 years. I started over from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
but just having the determination to get the book finished, to just start querying again, to get back on the horse and start riding again.
Yeah.
Um, I was so worried that people just forget who I was because it'd been so long since my last book, and I'd not done any
Yeah.
conventions for ages, and it's just so yeah. This is definitely a culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat and tears because yeah, you never know. You're only as good as your last book, aren't you? And mine was ages ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of it builds inner strength. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was done for. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to
Uh-huh.
be the gaming guy again because the novel
Uh-huh.
career's over.
which is a great career too. I mean, dealing
Yeah,
with games, that's crazy. That's amazing too. But
yeah, absolutely. I
novels,
love
they
it.
have that kind of sacred fascination, the kind of relationship that we have with the written words and with pages in paper or ebooks. If you're an ebook
Yeah.
guy, it's quite special, and I'm glad that Orbit gave you this amazing cover
Me
that
too.
pushed me to buy the book on release day, and that I pushed me to make space in my TBR and forgetting everything else, jumping on the book and giving it the space and the care and the attention that it needed, because this was amazing. I will release my favorite book of 2025 in a couple of weeks. I will not tell you what position this book is, but it is really high. I want to be need to be a surprise or a disappointment for you or anyone watching this video. Just be curious about this. But I loved it. It had anything that I wanted, all the things that I didn't know I wanted about this kind of book. It is a peculiar experience. If you know nothing about murder mysteries or investigation or procedural, this will enlighten you and maybe push you to search more about investigations. But this, like this, you have to wait for book two to find something similar, maybe a little bigger, with a more ambitious scope, I think, by reading just the ending of this one. Yeah, go give it a try. Absolutely. And thank you, Mark, for being here, for
Thank
accepting
you so much for all the
of
kind
being part
words.
of this interview. It's been delightful to have you here in this show. So, where can people find you if they want to show some love for this book? What social you're in, your website? How do we contact you if we want to reach you?
My main socials now are Blue Sky. I do have a Facebook page too. You can check me out there. And my website is mark-latham.com. Really easy.
Okay, really easy peasy. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for being part of this live stream. Or if you're catching up another day, go check out this book. And we're going to have other live stream until the end of the month. A couple of more uploaded videos. If you haven't read this book, go and read it. And contact me so we can gush about it and discuss it. Let's wait together for book two, and let's pester Mark to give us book two and Orbit to give us book two the next summer. If it gets later, it will be later. There's no problem. But thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to be with you, Mark, and with all of my audience. See you the next time.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.